My name is Zarina Shakir, and welcome to Islamic Perspectives.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
We have a wonderful guest who has come from a distance to meet with us today, and looking forward to talking with him about a number of things. So with no further ado, let me introduce Amin Abdullah Nathari, who was born in Newark, New Jersey 43 years ago, of parents who were teenagers in the Nation of Islam. 40 years ago today, they wedded, and so that's very special. So I might just say, whenever this is airing, today is September 23rd, 2007, and may I say congratulations and pray that they will have another 40 years, if that's possible.
Amin.
He recently was working for the young mayor of Newark, New Jersey, Cory Booker, as the Deputy Communications Director, and now Amin is an independent media consultant, and he's also an author, and we are going to be talking about the book that he has written. Well, this is his third book, so we are going to talk about the other two books briefly, but this particular book, which the title is A Message to the Grassroots for the 21st Century, What Would Malcolm Do? That one little piece, without the message to the grassroots for 21st century America, what would Malcolm do in itself has to be probably a whole show.
Yeah,
but of course we're going to try and get through as much as we can. Amin also wants to establish a full-time independent Muslim press so that they and he can produce culturally sensitive books on Islam. He was the founder and the imam for the Muslim Community Center of Essex County, which is in New Jersey, which is now called Ashabul Yamin.
Yes.
And what that means is the mosques of the companions of the right hand. Amin, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sister.
And Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Kareem. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm pleased to be able to have you on the show today. And I've been blessed. This is my second time getting an opportunity to interview you.
Yes. You came to visit us in New Jersey.
Yes. Yes. Well, let's get to your book. A Message to the Grassroots for the 21st Century, What Would Malcolm Do? So what I'm going to do is kind of take it apart and deal with some of the words in the title.
Okay.
And then move into some of the texts that I've read in terms of the abstract that I have.
Okay, a little deconstruction. Huh?
Yes,
okay.
Somewhat. A message to the grassroots. Now, who are the grassroots? And for people who are not familiar what grassroots and that term means in terms of politics or economics or social and cultural definitions, what exactly does that mean?
Well, the short answer for that, I mean, that can definitely be a subject all its own, a show all its own in terms of engagement and struggle, which is part of the history of our people. But for me, grassroots is certainly those people that are engaged in struggle for change and progress at the most basic level. Usually those people that aren't politicians, or those people, they may not hold an elected office, they may not have, as what we would call haughty titles or things of that nature, but people that just are involved on the ground, that share common goals, hopes, and aspirations, and want to move, their particular people forward, whether it be their community of faith or their ethnicity or whatever of those common things and themes that normally unite people and that people normally galvanize around.
And now, in terms of grassroots, are those people who would be considered the have-nots?
Absolutely, the have-nots, and even I would go by extension, it may be people that have, but that understand that we don't judge the condition of our communities by the condition of the strongest person, but that we judge them by the condition of the weakest person. So when you look at the society, you can never say that society as a whole is doing good until all people are doing good and that opportunity is available for everyone. And as Muslims, that's particularly important because we don't judge the condition of the Muslim community by how the one individual or the group of individuals that are doing good are doing. We judge it by the weakest amongst us. And until we elevate the condition of the weakest, then we can't claim any type of success.
So when you say good and the weakest, what exactly are you referring to? Are we talking about wealth, or are we talking about health? Or the weakest? Would that be a homeless person?
All of those things combined. You know, of course, at its basic level, you can be talking about those people that are homeless or those people that are dealing with those day-to-day real struggles and challenges. But we're also talking about, in a larger sense, even access to opportunity, social, politically, economically, all of the areas that people need to have access to in order to improve their condition. That those are the contrasts we look at in terms of the weakest and the strongest. So those people that don't have access to be able to make the playing field level, as we say, those people are people that we also have an obligation to go back and uplift them and to help them so that they can become part of the process toward the collective struggle to do better.
Now, I mean, okay, let's go into, I want to go back eventually to the rest of the title,
Okay.
What Would Malcolm Do? Is that right? Yes.
Yes.
What Would Malcolm Do? And where we are also in terms of the 21st century. Take us back a little bit, how all this began, and what is it, well, we'll get to what we can do about it later. But let's start from some historical perspective.
Well, of course, as Black Americans or African Americans, we certainly go back, you know, just in a contemporary sense, we go back to the civil rights struggle. And we know that historically there have always been people that have been engaged in the process for change. And we know that the Civil Rights Act of 1964, when people really begin to en masse rally around the efforts to uplift African Americans, that was a time for great social change and upheaval in America. So any gains that we feel now, that we benefit now, we certainly know that those things were born from the struggle and engagement that took place during that time. But we also find...
Can I just stop you for a moment? So you're only going back as far as the civil rights movement?
No, I begin there in a contemporary sense because, of course, the show, right, exactly, because the show certainly doesn't allow for us to go back in terms of the history of our people, and even the book, because we know that our people have been engaged in, you know, in struggle from the times that we were brought here to the shores of North America as slaves. So I go in the book from a contemporary sense, which is why, and we'll go into this in more detail later, which is why I talk about what would Malcolm do, because certainly Malcolm, along with Dr. Martin Luther King and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it was Malcolm who was one of the central figures for human rights, you know, leadership and I would like to say civil rights, but more importantly, human rights. He was one of those central leaders, so I go back to that particular period because that also happens to be the particular period of my birth. That happens to be what we looked at as being the baby boom age, and all of those things that we see certainly have some bearing over where we are now at this particular point in our development as Americans.
Okay, so when we in terms of your book, basically start around 1964.
Yeah, we basically we start the discussion at where we are today. I mean, of course, there's a section where, and I don't want to talk too much about the book, but there's a section where I go back to my formative years in the Nation of Islam, which is where my whole idea of grassroots movement and social activism began. So I start there, and then I contrast that to now, where in the Nation of Islam we dealt with themes such as freedom, justice, and equality. And now you look at that, and you see all these years removed, that we still have a lot to do, a lot of work to do in America in terms of being able to really establish freedom, justice, and equality for all people and all people that are living as citizens in America.